I'll bet some of you have been wondering, why does my character look the way he does? Why does he look so edgy, off-putting, like he's giving out main character energy? Well, there's a story for why my character looks the way he does. If my voice sounds a little off or if I'm a little out of energy, I have like a 99% feeling that I'm going to fall ill, like probably have a cold or something. Everybody around me's been getting sick, so it's only a matter of time basically for me. So what's the point of today's video? I decided to do something a little different that I don't think I've done yet. We're gonna have story time with Dark. So I'm doing this with completely no script, by the way, so if I mess up with talking, whatever, I think I'm gonna leave it in. So what story am I gonna be telling today? I'm gonna tell you about the time that I was scared deathless in school. Or one of the times I was scared deathless in school. It also ties into why my character looks the way he does, so let's rewind to about 2018, 2019, around there. Maybe even 2020 actually, but just a couple years ago. As you guys know, I started my channel on April 7th, 2020. I was originally a creepypasta channel, so I'd read horror stories, I'd write horror stories, you know. A lot of them were fairly cringy, as you could probably guess, but yeah, it's where I got my start. See, you may think that's probably where I got my design from, right? I just saw some cool horror stuff and took some elements. Well, no, it's actually a lot deeper than that. My character looks the way he does for a variety of personal reasons. The first one is insecurity. To put it simply, for a long time, I was an extremely insecure person. I still kind of am, but like, it was nowhere near the extent that it was a couple of years ago. It was just horrible, really. That's because any kind of confidence, self-esteem, self-worth was constantly beaten out of me all my life, really. So I was never confident. So I felt like I had to mask, hence why I'm wearing a mask. I felt like I had to join in with everybody else, go to the extreme. I fell in love with horror just because, you know, seeing the gruesome, the violent imagery, it just kind of brought a sense of comfort for me. It just kind of made me forget about the bad times, you know. I don't know why it kind of appealed to me, but it really did. I also watched a lot of horror channels around the time to kind of get my mind off of things, so it really was a big thing into why I like horror. And yeah, just my character looks the way he does because of a personal thing, so let's get into the actual story. So, as you guys know, I'm autistic. I suffer from autism. I've been diagnosed since the age of 11. And I bounced around schooling, just, you know, in and out. People tried to help me. They weren't very successful most of the time, etc. So, this story begins in, I want to say, either 2019 or 2020. It's around there. So pretty much right either when the pandemic first started or when it wasn't ready yet, but people were getting poorly around the time. I was having problems with one of the students. I'm not going to name the student because this was a long time ago, so we're going to call him L for short. No, not the Death Note character. I bet he'd be nicer to me. So L was, now looking back at it in hindsight, probably a person who was facing a lot of inner turmoil, but as a scared 16-year-old who didn't really understand that stuff, I probably didn't notice any of this, and, you know, I really struggled with body language as is, so I didn't pick up on any of the signs where, as an adult now, I probably could have been able to tell stuff like that. So anyway, he had been picking on me, not so subtly, him and his group of friends, basically. He was kind of like a, you know, he was kind of like invincible, he had a lot of swagger about him, he didn't really fear any kind of authority, he kind of just did whatever the hell he wanted, however the hell he wanted, just for a laugh, and kind of acted like a douchebag. And he said some really nasty things to a lot of the other students who was dealing with a lot of mental health problems, a lot of just, you know, other stuff as well. It was horrible, really. I heard some of the things that he said to some of the students who had serious issues. I'm not going into detail. So this guy had already been causing problems. Imagine a high-pitched 16-year-old who was scared and had no social skills. In hindsight, yeah, I probably annoyed him. So he had been just kind of, it was like verbal bullying, he'd make fun of me, whatever, he'd try to intimidate me, so on. I hate conflict with a burning passion. I hate drama, I hate conflict, I hate fighting, etc. So it really set off my anxiety. I was told that the place I was going to, the school, was a nice place. It knew all about autism, it knew all about neurodiversity, it would help save my life. Well, in hindsight, they actually didn't. They knew some bits and pieces of it, but the problem was that they never knew how to say no. They could not find that boundary to help the students. Plus, they also kept all the students who had their individual needs clash with each other. So they kept the really loud students with the really quiet students. And obviously, you can imagine that turned out beautifully. That's British sarcasm. It was a horrible decision. Absolutely horrible decision. This guy was just targeting people, making fun of them, attacking them. But he had been targeting me, and as I later learned after the incident, which I'm going to tell you, he actually was planning on attacking me for a while. He was just waiting for the opportunity. And that opportunity unfortunately came. So around December time, this is around Christmas, I was in the cafeteria. We had a small little cafeteria area, you know, where students would go mingle, have some food, you know how it is, right? I was laughing with a kind of friend at the time, but really just like a classmate I knew. We were joking about, you know, family, like, you know, kids being kids, you know, messing around, goofing off, etc. And the person overheard what I said, right? And instead of taking it for a joke, which it clearly was a joke, anybody could figure out in that context, which was like some kids, you know, destroyed a birthday cake because, you know, they were wrestling each other. He somehow misconstrued that as me laughing at child abuse for some reason. I have no freaking idea why he misconstrued that. My answer is that he was using it as an excuse to go after me, right? So he overheard that. He probably made like a scrunched up face or something, you know, something I would have picked up on now that I'm older, but I didn't. So then the bell rang, everybody was going out. It was like a really small building, so like there was long winding corridors that led to your classrooms. The school was split into two areas. Your older students, which included me, were on the top, while your younger students were on the bottom. And because I was at the top, I was leaving to go up the staircase. So I left chatting it up, just kind of, you know, not really thinking anything would happen because I hadn't spoken to the person, by the way. I hadn't spoken to L. I kept my distance from him. I never antagonized him. I never tried to mess with him. And so when I was reaching the point of going to the staircase, it was like a little door I had to open. He was waiting on the side for me. And because I struggle with social cues and, you know, body language at the time, I didn't pick up on the fact that, oh, something might happen here. So he comes out from the side, bang, punches me right in the neck, a fucking hard punch as well, like hard to the point where like, it didn't feel real, basically. I was hit, and there was so much shock that I didn't feel the pain until like 20 minutes later. So he hit me, I smashed the side of my head into a cement wall, my glasses snapped, like the left arm of my glasses just completely gone. My glasses fall to the floor, like my neck starts swelling, I'm crying, I'm terrified, I'm shaking to death, and yeah, he runs away like a coward. He waited just for that opportunity to catch me by surprise. He didn't even want to try to fight me. And yeah, let's just say when my family found out, they lost their minds, basically. And my family described me as I never looked more pale in my life. And pretty much from that moment on, that single punch killed any kind of confidence that I had. It's the reason why I delved more into the edgy horror type look, because it was the only thing that I had. It's just the fact that this happened. The school told me that I would be safe. They reiterated constantly that they were always vigilant. They were always looking after the students, but they let something like that happen. There were staff around, by the way. This wasn't like an isolated incident. There were people behind me. Like, there was a full cafeteria, not like only about 40 to 50 people, but there were people there. And yet they did nothing. They just let me take that punch and let the guy run away like nothing happened. And it was a horrible time for me, and ever since that punch, the rest of the schooling, I was terrified. I was scared of people. I was always looking behind me because I was afraid that people were going to try and hit me. Oh, and he did it again, by the way. When I was going downstairs to go to my next lesson, he was waiting for me and pushed me. He almost pushed me down the stairs. Luckily, a teacher was with me this time because I was too scared to go to any classes out of fear of being assaulted again. And guess what? The teacher being there was good because I actually did get physically assaulted. You may be like, oh, Doc, why don't you press charges or anything? Because he was 17. He wasn't an adult at the time. Yeah, lucky. So yeah, I had to deal with all of that. But this all came to a head one day, and I'll never forget this either. I was coming into reception with my mum this time because I was so terrified of going in on my own thinking that he was going to be waiting for me. And guess what? He was. He was crouched in the corner, kind of like balled up, just kind of smushed in the corner. He looked kind of like, you know, his head in his hands, you know, normal stuff like that. Well, not normal, but he was waiting for me, essentially. As soon as I saw him, like, my heart started going like boom, 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 boom. Like, my chest was going, my face went pale. I was horrified, and I was trying to run away. I hear him say, oh, I'm not gonna do anything, you know, like in kind of like a passive-aggressive type voice. And my mum was like, oh yeah, you're not gonna do anything. Then I see this guy stand up, and I don't remember a lot of this because I was in so much shock. It happened so fast, so I will try to explain this. He stood up and tried to get me, my mum stood in front of me and was basically egging the guy on to throw a punch. My amazing mother stood in front of me and was just like, come on then, throw a punch, see what happens. And, you know, my mum isn't a very tall lady, but she can fight, and she can defend people when need be. So, like, my mum probably would have gone to jail had that happened, but thankfully, he never threw a punch. He pussied out, thankfully. And the only thing I can remember after being dragged by, like, 5 different staff members away from the guy was chairs being tossed around, doors being kicked in, glass being smashed, you name it pretty much. I'm talking like this guy kicked down the security doors, and I just see it hanging wide open. And so I was just in the room that they got me to, crying my eyes out. I was terrified. I was so pale I couldn't even speak. Pretty much from that point, I never saw him again, thankfully. So there is a somewhat happy ending. Well, happy is loose because of him, I now had trauma of people. I never wanted to speak to people again, and I sunk further and further and further into the horror edgy type stuff. And I never really recovered until I went to college, where I actually got the professional help that I needed from people who actually knew what the hell they were talking about. So yeah, I've been assaulted a few times at school, but that guy, L, who did it, it was easily the worst out of every kind of assault that I had been through. Just punched me out of nowhere. It was a planned attack, completely unprompted. I never said anything to the guy, I never antagonized him, and he just threw a punch out of nowhere and hurt me. So yeah, if you're wondering why my character looks so edgy, you know, goofy main character energy, it's because I wanted something to help me feel confident. I wanted something to make me feel strong. Having these cool chains, having, you know, the metal arm, the purple eye, the red eye, I like demons and stuff, it was cool. Now that I've gotten older, I actually changed the meaning. The reason why my character wears chains and wears a mask, it's to represent my insecurities, basically. I was cursed with constant fear, anxiety, turmoil, and I have to wear a mask. I can't be my true self because I was too scared. So the chains represent all the turmoil and trauma locking around me so I can't escape. However, when I do get my new Vtuber model, spoiler alert, in the future I plan to get another one, my character will look completely different from this. It'll still be the same character with certain design elements, but it'll be completely different. So, yeah, here was Storytime with Dark, the time that I got assaulted in school. I don't know if this is like a content style you guys are interested in, I really don't know. Again, this was all no script, this is coming straight from the heart. If you want to hear me tell more stories, maybe some of my funny stories, maybe some more of my overschooling stories, be sure to let me know if this is the kind of content you'd like to see. I'm gonna get going because, again, I have a feeling I might get sick, so if I'm sick, I'm sick. I'll just have to take some time off. If not, I'll get to work, you know, doing what I can. I'll see you guys later. Take care, my disciples, and have a good day.